Fixed lens cameras are the rave of the internet and YouTube market right now. Whether you're looking at the Leica Q3 series or the Fuji series or another one of the great fixed lens series out there, one of the questions that you're got to be faced with is what limitations might I have by getting a fixed lens camera? In this particular case, I decided to get the Leica Q3, which has a 28mm fixed lens. I know there are some third-party attachments that you can put on the lens to modify it, but for the most part, this thing is limited to 28mm on a lens standpoint. Welcome, I'm Mark, and thanks for watching Mark Exploring New Stuff. So my concern in making this purchase was 28mm too limiting? The Leica Q3 is not predominantly being used by me for video work. It's more photography work. So that's when I started researching the difference between optical zoom and digital zoom. Anytime you're able to change that lens, you are able to achieve optical zoom by simply increasing the focal length of your camera. In doing that, as you increase the optical zoom, you're maintaining the usage of your sensor. So if the camera that you're attaching the lens to is a 40 megapixel camera or a 50 or a 60 or a 20, you're maintaining the same megapixels. Now, digital zoom is entirely different. On a fixed lens camera, since you're not able to change the lens, you are able to do what's called digital zooming, where you're able, in effect, digitally crop the picture. The impact of that is that you end up using less of the sensor on the camera as you crop in. The Leica Q series calls this focal length simulation. And it is the process whereby on screen, on the back of your camera, you're able to crop in using less of the full sensor. The question is, since you're using less of the sensor, how does that megapixel get adjusted? Let's start with the Q3. At the Q3, which has an f-stop of 1.7, at 28mm, you're using 60 megapixels. At 35mm, you're using 39 megapixels. At 50mm, you're using 19 megapixels. 75mm, you're using 9 megapixels. And at 90mm, which is the closest focal length simulation that you can run on the camera, you're getting 6 megapixels. The Fuji X100 Mark VI has an f of 2.0. It is a standard at 35mm, which is you're getting 40 megapixels. At 50mm, you're getting 20 megapixels, and at 70mm, you're getting 10 megapixels. So you see that as you either use the digital zoom function or the focal length simulation, you're using less of the sensor on your camera to accomplish this digital zoom. How many pixels do you need in a photograph in order to have a quality photograph? Well, the standard comes out to 300 ppi, pixels per inch. On a 75mm focal length simulation of the Q3, which gets me 9 megapixels, how big am I able to make that photograph? If you take a look at the sensor, the full sensor on the Leica Q3, that sensor measures 36mm by 24mm. So as you're zooming in, remember we're stimulating in, we're using less of that particular sensor. When you zoom in to 75mm, which is using 9 megapixels, you end up with a sensor of 3,550 by 2,366 megapixels. If you then divide the horizontal by the vertical by 300, you find that the maximum photograph size that you can make from that and maintain maximum quality is 11.8 by 7.9. So any photograph that you produce smaller than 11.8 and 7.9 is going to meet the 300 ppi requirement for a quality photograph. With that in mind, a lot of my concerns and fears over getting a fixed lens camera were put aside, and really the determining factor in a fixed length camera is you want to make sure that it has a high degree of megapixels, because those megapixels will allow you to crop in, give you the flexibility to crop in either within camera or in your photography software and get the photograph that you want. The f-stop does not change. It doesn't get modified as you crop internally in on the camera. So even though you're moving from 28 to 35 to 50 to 70 and longer than that, you're able to maintain that same 1.7 The Leica also has a Leica Q3-43. That has an f-stop fixed at 2.0. And to just give you some of the simulations on that, the 43 has 60 megapixels. The next step on that would be 60 millimeters. That'll give you 31 megapixels. 75 will give you 21 megapixels. 90 millimeter will give you 14 megapixels. 105 millimeters will give you 8 megapixels. And the last step on the Leica Q3-43 for focal length simulation is 150 at 5 megapixels. So again, the differences between the Q3 and the 43 is the starting basis for the crop. On the Q3, it starts at 28. Versus on the Q3-43, it starts at 43. If you've been concerned about buying a fixed lens camera, know that these cameras, because of the high pixel count, megapixels they have in it, they do give you the flexibility to do cropping internal in the camera of being able to get different focal lengths while still having the convenience of not having to bother changing your lens. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, give us a thumbs up, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mark. Thanks for watching Mark Exploring New Stuff. Have a great day.